What's up, guys? Just going over what I've been doing. Like the past couple weeks, I've been making some console systems for Jamma. I made one Genesis so far, and this is my second Super Nintendo. So this is the Jamma one, and this is the Jamma harness right there. It's messy right now because I just got done testing it, and the hardest part actually of the whole thing is closing this back up so that everything fits in there. Because if you look at this unmodified Super Nintendo, and here's the little sound doohickey that plugs in like that. That's the soundboard. So this one's unmodified, and then look at all this. Let's take the game out. Basically double the amount of crap in here, and it's a tight fit. Basically, this is just to play Super Nintendo games in your arcade cabinet. For people who don't have arcade cabinets, the monitors are different than regular TVs because arcade monitors are analog RGB. And so usually your unmodified Super Nintendo like this is just going to have like a composite video, and then you're going to play with your controllers out of the controller ports here on a pad. So basically on the Jamma systems, there's three main things. You got to get the video working, which is probably the hardest part. Then you have to get the sound working, which is kind of difficult because you have to amplify the sound because the weak mono, Jamma only supports mono. So the weak mono signal from here is not enough to power most arcade speakers. So what I did, I ordered a bunch of LM380s, but for some reason I could not get them working no matter how I tried to amplify this. So if we go over here, sorry about the crappy camera work. So this board right here is what I'm using for the sound amp, and this is the volume knob, just all the way up. So this is a board scavenged from a $3.99 pair of computer speakers. What you do is, you go to Value Village, Goodwill, whatever thrift store, and then you get the cheapest speakers you can find that are powered, that you have to plug into a wall outlet, because those are amplified speakers. And then you go inside and get the board here, or just whatever board is inside. And what that board does is you have to power it, which you're going to power it from the 12-volt line on the Jamma edge. Over there's 12 volt. And then you have to ground it, of course, so then it's powered, and then the light will come on. Most of these PC speakers, every one that I've used so far will run off of 12 volts. Usually they say 15 volt, but they do fine on 12. And then you are going to need your audio ground and mono audio input, which you get from the underside of the Super NES board. And then you take the output, which is usually to the right speaker. You just clip the wires going to the speaker and then run them back to the audio input on the Jamma edge. And then you got your sound. When this is plugged into the arcade cab, the LED goes back on just like it's powered out of the wall or whatever. Oh, and another thing, you want to power the whole Super Nintendo and this, they all need power, but you can all get them from the Jamma Edge. So let's see, where is it? See if I can get a good shot. All right. So that's the voltage regulator for the Super Nintendo. And if you can't see on my crappy camera, but the pins are labeled I, G, and O for the 3 pins on the power regulator. That stands for in, the middle one's ground, and then out. So in, it takes, I think like 12 volts from the wall wart, and then, that's the ground. And then the output, it outputs 5 volts. So all you have to do to get this working without having to plug it into a wall outlet is ground the middle pin from ground here to ground on the Jamma Edge, and then output, you connect that to the 5 volt on the Jamma Edge. The input pin you just ignore. So then you'll have power and sound. Usually when I'm building these, I'm going to start on video first, just because you can't test anything else until you have video. And so this circuit right here is the sync separator circuit. This is a LM1881 sync separator chip, and what that does is these systems don't output the right kind of signal for sync for your arcade monitor. So it takes the composite sync and gives you a horizontal sync, which will allow your monitor to sync up. And fun part about that is all the diagrams I found online have not worked. They're completely different. I don't know why. So I kind of had to figure out on my own what worked for the sync separator circuit, which is the hardest part. And here's my diagram I made, which this I know works for a fact with the LM1881N. So pin 2 right there, you use a 0.1 microfarad capacitor between pin 2 and sync in, and then pin 1 you just go to the Jamma Edge, ground, and then on pin, this pin here, in parallel you have a 680k kilo ohm resistor and a 0.1 microfarad capacitor to ground, and then power 5 volt over there. And this works for a fact. You see the divot is at the top. That's how you know it. I'm running out of time here. And what else do we have to do? The controllers. So this is a fun part. What you do is you have your Super Nintendo controller, and you're going to cut the circuit board from the cord. And then with the colors in the wire, you take your multimeter and you see what color goes into which, check continuity for which color goes into which pin, and then those colors from the controller board you solder directly to the controller ports here, and then just like making an arcade stick, you solder from each point on the controller to the Jamma Edge, and then to the kick harness if you're going to do 6 buttons. And then what I did here is I have these barrier strips for player 1, player 2, and this way you can configure what button does button 1 through 6 on Jamma, like if I want to change left and right to fierce or roundhouse or whatever, complete customized controller. So that's Jamma Super Nintendo.